Princess Blanding, candidate for Virginia governor. There she is.
Good
How are
morning,
you this
Princess.
morning, Miss
Good
Princess?
good morning. Thank you all for having me. I'm well.
Great, great. Now, okay. So let's get right into it. There is let people know who you are. You're running for Virginia candidate for governor, but you're running for the you're running as an independent, and you're running under the Liberation Party. Could you let us know who you are and about the Independent and Liberation Party?
Sure. So again, my name is Princess Blandon, and I'm very thankful that we just last week we got the news that we did make it on the ballot, so that I can run for governor under the newly formed Liberation Party. And so, a little bit of background information about me: I was born and raised in upstate New York, a small city called Newburgh, New York. Around 2000, 2001, my family moved us, you know, about 12 of us down from New York to the Middle Peninsula of Virginia, just to give us a better chance. It was pretty rough up there, still is in Newburgh, New York. And I moved from New York to Baltimore, Maryland to pursue my bachelor's degree in biology, as at the time I knew
Mhm.
that I was going to be a doctor. I thought I was going to be a doctor, a pediatrician. And later on found out that that was not my calling. Went to school to pursue my education as a teacher. And I became a eighth grade physical science teacher in Essex County. And just fast forwarding, a few years later, I earned my master's in EDS in education administration and supervision, and became a school administrator at the high school and elementary school level. That's where things changed. Back in 2018, May 14th, 2018, at the high school where I was the assistant principal at, we lost a science teacher, and we needed somebody to fill in very quickly for a biology teacher position. And if you know anything about education, teachers, are in short supply, high demand, and especially science teachers. And so I knew that one of my brothers, Marcus David Peters, had an undergraduate degree in biology, and so I reached out to him, kind of with like a hope and a strong prayer that he would be interested and fill in a position, and he did. So October of 2018, my brother Marcus David Peters joined our team, and he filled the position of biology teacher. On May 14th, 2018, after my brother completed a full day of teaching high school biology, he headed home towards Richmond, his home in Henrico, and something went to the left. He had a mental health crisis, his very first mental health crisis.
Mm.
A Richmond police officer murdered my brother while he was completely unarmed. At the time, he was completely undressed, and as the police officer stated, that he was experiencing a mental health crisis. Um, I was the last family member to see my brother alive, as he was a teacher at the school that I was the assistant principal at. And I remember, coming home later on that day, and I was actually on the phone with one of my siblings, and she quickly said to me, hold on, I need to click over. And then when she clicked back on to me, she was just hysterical. She was screaming. She said, Poppy, which is his nickname, Poppy's in a hospital. We need to get up there. Now, understand that my family and I live about an hour, 15, 20 minutes away. And so without knowing much, we just knew that our loved one was in trouble. We rushed up to Richmond, and I was in the vehicle with my mother. And I remember her on the phone saying, just tell me you didn't shoot him in the head. And her hope was that whatever happened to him, which they told her that he was shot, but they were really not wanting to give much more information. But she was just hoping that if he was shot anywhere else, that he would have a chance. And they finally told her that he was shot in his abdomen. Fast forward, my brother, he did not make it. And I remember seeing news headlines, basically with the narrative, crazy naked black man. And I knew
Wow.
that was not who my brother Marcus David Peters was. So there was no time to grieve. I had to quickly jump into action because my brother wasn't here to defend himself. And I refused to allow that narrative to move forward. And,
Mm.
what we saw was that the city of Richmond, the state of Virginia, that the media, they took my brother's worst moment of his life, and they tried to allow it to erase all of the amazing things that he did. And so, just continuing to fast forward, since 2018, after my brother's murder, myself and countless supporters and family members have pleaded with our local and state legislators to enact legislation to have mental health professionals answer these calls of mental health crisis and not police officers.
Yes.
We know that in America, that being Black is a death sentence in itself. And so if you're Black and you're experiencing atypical behaviors, that puts you at an even higher risk. And again, we're realistic, so we know we can't bring them back. But what we do know is that our legislators can do more and say less. Enact
Mm.
legislation, that calls on the mental health professionals. We pleaded, for the creation of independent civilian review boards with subpoena power, to hold police officers accountable. And we received nothing but disrespect. They ignored our calls until, fast forwarding some more, the summer of 2020, after the unjust murder of George Floyd. And as with the rest of the nation, there was a strong uprising in Richmond, which I had a heavy hand in. And, as we continued to mobilize day after day, finally legislators reached out to me and said, that Marcus alert that you were calling for, we need to have that. And they said, I want you to work with us to create a bill, for the Marcus alert, and work with us on a bill for independent civilian review boards, and work with us on a bill to end qualified immunity.
Mm.
And what we
Mm.
essentially saw was that our legislators, it was very performative. It was definitely performative because they waited until things got out of control, and
Mm.
fear, pricked them before they said, oh, let's work on these things. But what we ended up getting was weak, watered down legislation, or they killed the bills altogether, and it was those moments, that myself and so many others said, what, it's time for the rise of a strong independent party, because we
Yeah.
can't keep doing the same thing and expect different results. And,
Yes.
at that time, I personally did not plan on running for governor. We were doing everything that they told us to do. I spoke before General Assembly, everything that we were told to do, and it wasn't working. And so I came to the conclusion that we cannot keep begging our oppressors to be our saviors, because they
Mm.
simply won't.
Mm. Mm.
And, it was during those times that I said, we have to expand our fight from the streets into the seats of these key elected positions in order
Mm.
to claim the full course meal that we all deserve. And that's what brought me
Mm.
to the point that I am now.
Mm. Okay. Wow.
Whew.
First of all,
Mm.
Princess, that was a lot, and thank you for giving us the background on even what got you to this place to run. You said we got to take it from the streets to the seats, and that's very important because especially somebody who's been through it, right? You handle the situations differently. The Marcus alert, that's a big deal because
Yes.
so many situations, so many times we've lost our brothers, our sisters, family members, uh, most likely always Black. When they're having a psychotic episode, they're shot. They're
Mm.
shot. They're not treated as anything
Mhm.
else. They're shot down. And so having somebody else, a professional, a behavior professional, psychologist, or whoever who needs to come out there, and they would be performative because it sounds good, especially with the last situation with George Floyd. Let's hop on the train, but once it slows down, let's back away. So you stepping into a position where you can make it definite, where you could possibly make it definite, where we're changing things is great. So you are running again as an independent, and you're running under the Liberation Party. Could you explain the Liberation Party?
Absolutely. So, in a nutshell, as the chair of the Liberation Party, as the first candidate running under the Liberation Party, we are strong believers that liberation is a human right, not a privilege, and
Mm.
that must be reflected in our. We're saying that access to housing, that is something that no one should be denied. When we
Yes.
Come
talk
on.
about food sovereignty, that is something. Access to healthy foods is something that no one should be denied. When we talk about healthcare, and Medicare for all, that is something that no one should be denied. What we're essentially talking about is humanity. And that's what our that's one of the key pillars of the Liberation Party is humanity and equity. We are basically fighting for our basic needs to be met. If you heard anything that I just said, that's
Mm.
at the bottom, of Maslow's hierarchies of needs. And it's very it's concerning, it's problemsome that we have to fight for just our mere existence, for just our mere existence. And what we see is that this two-party system continuously throws us crumbs, and we deserve, and we are here to claim the full course meal. And so, again, what I saw working with a lot of these legislators is that they continuously put politics and profit over the needs of people. Looking just around the primary time, we had two other Black females who were running very heavily on being the first Black woman, which that is not at the forefront of my campaign. You can look at me and tell that I am a Black woman, right?
Mm.
However, they pushed very hard for being the first Black woman and spoke very negatively about Terry McAuliffe, who was a former governor and who won the primaries. And within less than and within less than about a Black woman needed to be governor. So
Mm.
again, the contradictions and the hypocrisy, and them playing on the intellect of the voices of the unheard, I will not sit silently on. And we, the people, have a lot of power, and we will continue to enlighten, empower, and mobilize people beyond the boundaries of the Commonwealth.
And Princess, you're, and I'm gonna let my co-host get in on there, but I just feel some energy right here. Your
Yeah.
audacity to some will be radical, but this is not something that is radical. Why is getting people proper help something that's radical? Why is telling our police officers to stop killing something radical? It's not radical, but for a lot of people, a lot of politicians, like that you've worked with, they look at it as something radical. Only when it's fitting, they'll tap you on your shoulder and they'll say, "Hey, Princess, remember remember that time
Mm.
when you said, remember what you went through? Can we use you as a photo op? Can we do this?" So for you to separate yourself from those two parties and say, I'm about liberation, and that's what I stand on, they're going to look at that as radical too. Historically, we have other people who've done the same thing, separated themselves from these two parties, I applaud you for that. Everything that you said just
Yes.
now, there is nothing wrong with anything that you said. Not one thing. So I'm excited that we were introduced to you. I'm excited that we
Absolutely.
get to know who Princess Blanding is. And I hope that everybody who's watching understands what she meant. I want to throw it back from the streets to the
Mm,
seats. You
yeah.
understand? Like people who have relatability, who understand, those need to be the people in the seats, because those are going to be the people who are for the people. I'm gonna give it over to DJ exclusive, DJ X3C. What's up?
Princess, thank you so much for joining us this morning. Thank you for all your work. Now, let me ask you. I know this weekend. I know this weekend. Being part of the LGBTQI plus community myself, it was a lot. And I saw that Biden recently spoke up saying that there needs to be new gun reform laws put in place. And he actually said this on the day, and also mentioned that the memorial would be deemed a memorial. What are your thoughts and feelings on Biden's gun reform plans, or what are your feelings on the gun reform plans? Period.
Right. So I'm gonna be very honest, and this I may not sit well with some people, but post the unjust murder of George Floyd and the uprising that I was right in the center of, at least in the city of Richmond, of Richmond, and being Black, as I stated already, we already have many targets, aimed at us. And what I refuse to do is to be a sitting duck. I have a
Mm.
family, and I will make sure that I protect my family. And so I am licensed to carry a firearm,
Mm.
and I will make sure that I, do so, and I make sure that other people understand their rights. So let me not go too far to the left. I do support gun ownership, and I believe that we need to get to the why variable. See, the Democratic Party does a
Yes.
great job pushing out the narrative that they want to push out. Eliminating guns is not the solution. I'm from New York. There's something called the black market, okay? And so a person that wants to get their hands on a of the the crimes happening, and until we start addressing things at the root, we're going to continue to get the same the same results. And I want to also say, kind of comment on something that you talked about, Rebecca. They can say that I am radical. I say that I am realistic. Okay.
Yeah.
And oftentimes the narrative is pushed out that, supporting a third party or will split the vote. Okay. Right now, the Democratic Party is scared, and they should be. Okay. It
Mhm.
is due to their continuous failures that I, myself, and so many others had to rise up. But if the true fear of the Democratic Party is that voting for a third party would split the vote and give it to the Republican, then show it. Get behind, show it. Get behind a bit of power to ensure that that does not happen. And so narratives are very important because, again, it's easy to point the finger at the third party candidate, but the Democratic Party needs to take responsibility. They must take ownership, and they have every bit of control in ensuring that the Republicans do not win. Support me.
Yeah, period. Support Blanding. Ben, get
Mhm.
in there.
I have to tie what you're saying together there because you it's not radical because you're basically asking for survival,
Right.
right? We're
Right.
asking for survival. Housing, clothing, food, education, healthcare. That's not radical, but you're having dealing with the issues of survival. So your existence in this political space is the result of the fact that these parties aren't taking care of what needs to be taken care of in terms of the people's survival. So, in terms of everything else that you're saying, whatever problems that they have with the idea of a third party splitting the vote, the question is why are you more concerned about that when you haven't shown any concern about our survival?
Hmm.
Speak about that for me.
Absolutely. And, kind of, going back to a previous question, as a member of the LGBTQ community and as a Black person,
Mm.
we have so many, so many up for us. No one's
Mm.
standing in defense of us. I look at over the summer during the uprising, not just in Richmond, Virginia, but across the nation. How many politicians did you see take a stand for the many LGBTQ members who were being targeted, the many Black and brown people who were being targeted? Not one. There are so many people in Richmond, Virginia that were facing felony charges. There were so many women, father, children, who were being attacked by the police, and no one stood up for us. So
Mm,
again, I say, as I said earlier, why should we continue to do the same thing and
mm,
expect different results? Why should we continue to vote blue no matter who when that is causing us harm? When that
Mm.
mm,
is causing us to when
Mm.
that
mm,
is causing us to you know
mm,
again, I am doing this not because I am a seasoned politician, because I am not, but I am an impacted Virginian. What better person to have speak and represent you than somebody who is directly impacted? So again, narratives are really important, and we must, I say that the two-party system continues to move forward, because this system has done a number on us. So many of us, how can I say it nicely? Our brains have been conditioned for so long that no matter what they tell us, even when 2 plus 2 doesn't equal 4, we say,
Mm.
well, they're in power. They must know what's best for us, right? But then look at the results of that, right? The results of that, right? I hear them say, oh, we passed this bill, but we have more work to do. Then say less and do more. Do it,
Hmm.
right? You guys in Virginia, the Democratic Party is the majority in the House, the Senate, and we have a Democratic governor. There is no reason why the things that we have been demanding, which all equate to humanity and equity, should not have been passed. Twice within 6 months, the bill to end qualified immunity to hold police accountable was killed by the Democratic Party twice. So again, why would we and why should we continue to vote blue no matter who? But until we get out there and enlighten, empower, and start mobilizing people, they will continue to move forward. I will say that it was very hard for me to get on the ballot. It was very hard. That was no easy task at all. But task at all. But information, we knocked on every door. We didn't know if it was a red or a blue door or an independent door, but that worked in our favor because people across party lines, once they heard what we were about, they were very supportive. They embraced us with open arms, and we will
Love
continue
that.
to do what we do best, which is boots on the ground and mobilize the Commonwealth.
Yes.
Say less,
Say less,
do
prince.
more.
Look, say less, princess. Okay, this
Do
is
more.
this is where we're gonna listen. I absolutely. I'm putting you up there with my other folks. You know, my Nina Turners. You know, my Corey Bush. My because
Yeah.
I love the empowered women who step in there, and then these women who've been in the streets, who experienced immigration issue, who've experienced everything, you know, and they're the ones that are in the seat because they can move at a place where they understand instead of people who just don't care. And it's as simple as put, it can't be vote blue no matter who. It just can't be that. And I remember that
Yeah.
being a thing and being said. And I understood it at that time a long time ago, but we have progressed since then mentally. You know, we're liberating our minds. You know, shout out to the Liberation
Absolutely.
Party. So definitely, if you guys are in VA, Princess Blanding is running for governor. Please, please, please support. Where can they find you, Princess?
Yes.
Absolutely. You can probably find me knocking on your door because more information, you can visit us at www.princessblandon.com. Our team is very responsive. I answer a lot of the email calls because I believe in communicating directly
Love
with
it.
Virginians. And so visit us on our website for more information or to reach out to us.
Yes. And where can they find you on social media if they want to follow and follow everything that you're saying and doing as well?
Yeah.
Absolutely. So, man, am I not the tech savvy person? I'm gonna tell y'all right now. But hold on, I'll let you know. I'm so not tech savvy.
Well, we have your Twitter handle
Is
in
that
your
is that your Twitter on
at
screen now?
friend Blanding VA
There
on
we go.
Twitter.
You got it.
There it is. So it's on the screen now.
So,
Prince Branding VA. Prince Branding VA. We got you.
Oh
And
man,
before we leave, I was talking about accents today, and I hear a few from you. Is there something Caribbean in there? Is there a Caribbean drip in there? Is there what is it?
I'm from New York, and my students always pick on me about my New York accent,
Mhm.
but if it is, it may be. I just got to do my ancestry.com research.
Right.
Because you're giving a little Baltimore, okay? You're giving New York, but you're giving like I don't know in New York, but where all the
got a little
Caribbean folks
British
say a
to it
little
too.
Brooklyn in there.
Yeah.
It's a
Well,
nice,
I
it's
lived
like a
in
nice
Baltimore I lived in Baltimore for 4.5 years. That's where I went to school at
so you're
Morgan
picking
State.
you're picking it up. You're picking it
Yeah.
up
I just
from
heard the New
Okay.
York come out good too.
yeah. So
Yeah,
and then now
I
you're
love
in
it.
Virginia. So
Yeah,
and then now
I
you're
love
in
it.
Virginia.
All
Make
right,
it
we talk
blend.
about she were international,
Okay.
There we
international
go.
sound. I love it.
That's right. So thank you so much, Princess Blanding. Princess Blanding for governor in Virginia. Definitely check her out with the Liberation Party. It's something new. It's something fresh. It's something innovative, and it definitely will get the people going. Okay.
Yes.
So thanks on
Absolutely.
thank
Absolutely.
you on people going. Okay.
Yes.
So thanks on
Absolutely.
thank
Absolutely.
you once again, Princess. You
Gets
enjoy
the
the rest
people
of your day.
going.
Thank you,
Thank you
Princess.
all for having me.